Hello and good evening, and welcome to The Truth Behind the Truth.
Behind the truth.
Yes, indeed. Happy Saturday to everyone. Want to welcome you to this wonderful, wonderful evening of hot topics, with the brothers, with the fellas, however you want to call it. It's the men talking tonight.
Yes, it is.
We want to welcome our Facebook family, our YouTube family, our Instagram family, and our TikTok family, and our UK family. Like, can we say all that? Can we say all that again 5 times straight? Fast or whatever.
Ooh, I couldn't do it. I got a lazy tongue.
I hear you. Yeah, we hope you guys had a fantastic week, and you guys can chime in and have and say happy birthday to JB.
That's right. Happy
birthday, JB.
Yeah,
that big 30th. That big 30th birthday.
Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? I told everybody yesterday I'm 21 and I'm sticking with it.
Wait a minute. Tell them about the birth certificate.
Oh, no. No, we ain't going there. That's TMI.
Did you do anything special? Did you make something special for yourself?
No, he took care of it. Somebody was supposed to be here too, but they didn't make it last night. But we won't talk about that.
You know what?
It's okay,
Yeah,
I'm a very important person. You got to give me like a week notice because
that's right.
Right. My bad, P. I'm sorry. You booked up.
That's true. You got to let me check my calendar.
Right.
I think I can squeeze you in
between this second and this moment, right?
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Hey, Melissa. Hey, Linda.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for the birthday wishes coming in, guys. I appreciate it. Hello, guys. Hey. All of our beautiful ladies chiming in.
Yeah.
We love it. Keeping the flow going. Now, we're going to say this before we talk about the fellas real quick. Definitely, people, I need you guys. We need you guys to start sharing this page, sharing what you're experiencing, sharing the videos, okay? Hey, get them out there. You know people with issues in their life. We are here to help them to get past those issues, okay? It's too much great talk going among these four heads, okay? And then our invited guests, you know what I mean? It's way too much talk going on for you to be stuck in religion, stuck with having racial issues, stuck with having man problems, stuck with having women problems. I mean, come on, we have talked about everything, okay? So
stuck with having problems with yourself.
Having problems with yourself, okay? All of that. So our goal is to let you know that you are authentic, that you can move into life and know that you are enough every day you get up, okay? So hey, get on here, guys. Get these videos going. If you know people that are not operating in their life properly, send them a video.
Yeah.
Sit your ass down and listen to this. You'll be right at the end of it. Okay.
That's the truth.
But anyway, fellas, how you doing? Harold, how was your week, baby?
It was good. I just launched 2 new products. So it's been a journey. So now we have CMOS and we got ashwagandha.
Oh, yes.
And I'm really excited. Yeah, so it's been a good week. It was it's been a challenge making this happen, but like anything that you bring and birth, it's always comes with some birthing pains. And so
I heard ashwagandha does some really good stuff when you need to get in the mood. So
yes, put you in the mood, help you relax, and
it does.
Muscles. Yeah, so ashwagandha is good.
You know, a little ashwagandha in you.
Send me a bottle so I can try it out and be the first one.
To see if it works.
To see if it works. Okay. So it can be your testimony. Hey, look, this and this. Okay.
Look, I've been working it out. When I had prostate cancer, they wanted to put me on those blue pills. I'm like, there has to be some natural alternatives, and I found them. So I never had to be on those blue pills.
Wow. All right. Hey, you know what? We're going to have to do a segment on the blue pill.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Seriously.
But you know what's so funny? I work in a drugstore. I'm noticing that a lot of people, either my age or younger, are getting sort of those types of pills. And I'm like, why? I mean, you're not at the age to be either.
There's a number of
that. So,
you know what? That could be a topic of a show, guys. I mean, really, because there's a number of reasons why these young people are doing that. And I'm saying young people affectionately because we all young. But at the end of the day, that if you're feeling that you need that type of extra boost, there's something wrong.
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean? Because if you're feeling that you're not sustaining, yourself because of your age bracket, and of course your age bracket changes, different situations, happen in that point. But when you're before 30 and you're doing something, even before 40, typically, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But you in your 20s, getting male enhancements, opportunities,
mm-hmm.
Something wrong. Really, something wrong with either with your sexual behavior, and you're really trying to go beyond the limit of whatever. Ethel say yes, but something seriously wrong. At the end of the day,
or anxiety and stress.
Yes.
Right. A lot of young people are stressed out. Right. They don't look like it, but they stress out and they're numb and with all kind of drugs and stuff, which also affects their ability.
Right. This is true. Right. This is true. And then again, like and smoking that shit, all the time that's going to affect you too.
Like which one? There's so much that people are smoking now, so it's like
right. So all that smoking y'all doing ain't helping. Okay, I'm trying to tell you.
Cialis and Viagra are not party drugs.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. I totally agree. Yeah. But anyway, partner, how are you, sir?
I am doing well, man. I took last week was a bunch of auditions. This week has been a couple of callbacks and one booking, so I'm happy.
Oh, what booking is
coming on?
Awesome.
Can you share the book?
Yeah, it's a short film.
Okay.
Well, I just went blank on the name just right now. Oh, it's called Anti-Venom for a Snake.
Oh wow!
And so we start filming next week.
So, that should be a short. That should be a long drama. Okay,
right.
A miniseries, a short shoot. That should be a every week show.
Right? Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's nice to have an opportunity to be back on set again. I'm like, yes. Thank you, Ethel.
Right. Yes.
Wonderful.
Hey, Susan.
Hey, Susan. So, Don, how was your week? How was school? How was all of the eventful things going on?
Oh my goodness, it's work. Well, you know what? It's been busy. Mm-hmm. I have to say, I'm noticing that the city of Los Angeles slowly but surely is opening up just crazy. There's a lot of people from out of state, tourists, and people are coming through, and it's busy. And because of it, we're busy.
Right.
They're not on top of that inventory and all of that goes with working retail. But other than that, though, school-wise, I'm intrigued by everything I'm learning, y'all. I'm trying to. Well, I'm not trying. I am. Right. I'm going to be a massage therapist practitioner. Right. But I have to say this: it's very intriguing what you learn in the midst of learning the craft. Mm-hmm. Learning the difference of the bodies and the muscles and all. You learn about the injuries and the illnesses, and we're talking about stress and mental illness. Mental illness is something that is so important when it boils down to your body, because if you are not stable, then your body is not stable. Then comes the sickness and the illnesses and all that boils or entails with that. So if you are stressed or having anxiety, it's best to find a place where you can meditate, go work it off, go get out and walk it off, talk to somebody so you can be healed, because if you don't heal yourself, you will. But there will be a sickness that comes along with that will make the body, weak. Right. So you have to find a way to get out of that depression, all that anxiety. It has to go away because it makes your body sick.
Right, that's true.
Yes, it does.
I totally agree. Well, I definitely had that full week.
Oh no,
that's all right. Mine has, but it's not one that I care to share with the audience to bore them out, because we really need to get into hot topics today, and and have them entertained from that aspect. And we got some good things to talk about, guys. So we're gonna go for a quick break, and we'll be right back. I think we lost our brother Harold. He'll be back in a minute. Just
come back, Harold.
Come back, Harold. Yeah. But anyway, we'll be right back after this commercial break.
Yes.
All right, and we're back.
Yes.
Thank you once again, guys, for tuning into The Truth Behind the Truth. Looking forward to an exciting conversation tonight. I always want to welcome our Facebook family, YouTube family, Instagram family, and our TikTok family, and our UK family. I did it. I said it all fast. Yeah, and everybody else is tuning in tonight. I think I saw Troy out there tonight. Want to welcome you to the show, and all of our fellow well-wishers and those that will be joining us real soon. Anyway, so we're gonna dig in. It's hot topic time. Oh, we got some stuff to share with y'all tonight. All right. Yeah. So if you can get your comments in quick enough, we may be able to address it from the point of being on the screen. But we'll do our best to acknowledge it where we can. So anyway, this week, oh my gosh. So where shall we start? What do you want to start with?
Let's talk about anything. I don't care.
But in specifics, let's sorry, the one that we said at the top. I apologize, guys. Go ahead. You had one here that you wanted to talk about starting out at the beginning. You mentioned earlier.
Well, I was just mentioning that this month is Mental Health Awareness Month, and
yes.
Yeah, and it was so interesting because I ran across this. Somebody had put a post up that said the future of Black people is not dependent upon how white people treat us. The future of Black people is dependent upon how we treat ourselves.
Yes.
And so often we are focused things that behaviors that we can't control. We can't control what other people do or say, but what we can control is how we feel and how we process that kind of treatment. But it's so important, I think that we pause and take time just to kind of check in with ourselves to see how we're doing, because so often we're just on this treadmill going and popping off because things are happening because we're not taking time just to get still and silent. I know for me, like I was kind of challenged going through this whole process of bringing these products to the market because everything went wrong. And I felt myself really, really stressed and overwhelmed and just getting into a negative space and just thinking all of these negative thoughts and thinking, why did I even do this? Why did I make this investment? But when I was able to get still and calm, I knew that everything was going to work out for me. It may not work out the way that I wanted to, but I knew that it was going to work out. And so sometimes it's just important just to press the pause button. Just press the pause button when things are just going crazy, because sometimes it's our resistance to things that keeps things from happening. One of the things that I've discovered, after you've done all that you can, sometimes you just got to let it go and let the universe, that God work it out. But sometimes we're still pushing, trying to make it happen. And at that point, it's out of your control. And so, it just was just a nice quote that reminded me, of the importance of taking care of myself, And it prompted me to start doing more of the stuff that I know that works for me, like journaling and like in the morning doing a 10-minute meditation. Those things help keep me calm. And a lot of times when you're on that treadmill, you throw those things out the window because you're like, I ain't got time to do that. I got to get this done. And those are the very things that you need to keep yourself solid and keep yourself in a place of just peace.
I like that. I mean, hey, great opening. I love that, Harold. I mean, at the end of the day, if you guys had just listened when he said, we really have to stay focused on yourself, even though you have to have all of these achievements and things that you want to accomplish. One of the things, and you hear me say this all the time, is that trust the process. When you trust the process, it takes the anxiety and the stress out of it. You know what I mean? So that you're in the mode of acceptance. You're in the mode of shifting this way or shifting that way or whatever, because you're trusting the process, But you have faith in the ultimate goal. You know what I mean? But the process is the thing that's getting you there. But if you trust the process, you may, like you said, you may have to shift to the left a little bit, shift to the right a little bit. But at the end of the day, it all keeps you back on the same course, moving in the right direction. Very clearly. You opened up talking about mental health month. One of the things that I think really needs to be addressed typically in the African American community is that they and I'm gonna say they collectively rather than saying we, but don't address mental health. At the end of the day, it's a situation that typically from a church involvement, it's always you got a spirit on you and all this type of thing. Certain church arenas, they blame it everything else rather than looking at the issue or what a person's going through. Because go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we're so quick to say, I'm good, and You know, and I got this when we really are just riddled and filled with anxiety, you know, and then we often try to use religion and like, you know, I prayed about it, but we pray and worry at the same time. Right. It's like, okay, what are we doing here? And so it's just, you know, it's just really important that we just pay attention to ourselves and what's happening in our lives, because our lives gives us feedback. You know, if you got pain in your bank account, if you got pain in your situation, your relationship, that's feedback. That's feedback. And pain is there to get our attention. Because otherwise, a lot of us wouldn't change or do anything differently if we didn't have the pain of not having any money in the bank account or having a broken relationship or somebody betray us. We would still do things not because we like it, just because we are used to it. You can get used to pain.
Right. Well, you know, it's just a numbing the situation. We numb ourselves to the situation, and it's just like we just put it somewhere. We just never deal with it. Now, and I talk about this all the time. I'm one that always likes to compartmentalize. But the reason I use the term of compartmentalizing is that you put them in priority places. You know, this is something I can take it, I can pull out at this point, I can deal with, but then I can put it back. Not that I'm not dealing with it, but I can put it back over there and put myself over here and deal with something else, you know. But rather than trying to have everything on your plate exactly at the same time, you know, navigating through it, it can be very frustrating, you know. Now, I'm a multitasker, you know. One of the things they say about multitasking is that they're the type of people that never get any one thing done. I don't believe that. You know, my sense of that, because I literally can be, for instance, if you're cooking, you know, and you have to be a multitasker. You don't go to the stove and cook just, you know, if you're boiling corn, you'll sit and watch the corn boil the whole time.
I wouldn't do that.
You know what I mean? And then go put the roast oven and stand there. Okay, I got to wait till the roast get done. You know, or stand in front of the microwave and say, hurry up, you know. You know, but in itself, so some psychologists always want to challenge multitasking, you know, and I think it's an efficient way to be able to be if you have the ability to do that. Now, if you don't, then it's okay. You know, don't feel bad about it, but some people can, and then usually are able to get a lot done at the same time. Typically actors, you know, you have to be, oh my God, you got to be a multitasker. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, because you're on set, you got to integrate so much into remembering dialogue and yet picking up a mouse or, you know, doing this or taking a drink or whatever, or knowing what the right time to take the drink. So you got to be a multitasker, you know. So multitaskers, stay multitasking. Okay?
If you know how to do it. Now, I mean,
if it works for you, if it works for you,
exactly. Sometimes it doesn't work for you, and that's okay. I mean, but and like you said, Harry, you just got to know you. You know, you got to know what's going to work for you to get the best results out of you. You know, at the end of it. Pernell, you want to bring a point?
Yeah, I'm laughing at myself because, you know, my life is a song cue. So Harold has given me a song cue. I'm like, after you're done all you can.
Yes. Wow. You better stand.
Yeah, you know. And then I went into feedback.
Yes, again. Exactly. From Donnie to Janet, right? I got you.
Right. And I warn people all the time. I said, listen, if you're not prepared for me to burst into song at any given moment, watch what you But I think it is so important that we do talk about mental health. Yes. I mean, like you said, this is Mental Health Month, as well as Asian American Pacific Islander Month.
Yes, so I'll mention that in a minute. But go ahead.
AIPI brothers and sisters, happy AIPI month. We love you.
Yes.
But when we come to mental health, and Harold, I love what you said that with Black people, we are so many of us are so worried about what white people think about us, what's acceptable to white people. Right. It drives us crazy trying to be acceptable. Right. And I'm guilty of it, just like many of us have been.
Right.
And when you stop worrying about that, I'm like, you know what? We have done all that. You know, we've dressed a certain way. We've lived in certain neighborhoods. We've styled out. We've whipped and dipped and done things to our hair and all that stuff to be white acceptable and to deal with racial issues.
Right.
To the point where you're like, well, you know what? I am just going to live for my identity and embrace myself as a Black person in America and not worry about what anybody else is thinking about that.
Right.
So I stopped being nice or accommodating to white supremacy in standing up for my Blackness. You know, people say it all the time. Pro-Black is not anti anything else.
Right. Exactly.
Affirming our existence and our place in the world and our contributions to society and uplifting that, which is completely different than trying to say, I'm superior, and it's just affirming all the negative messages, and making that switch makes a difference in your whole outlook on life.
Right.
Praying about, did I speak correctly for white people to get it? I'm like, did you speak? Did the Black people understand what you're saying?
Right.
Affirm that.
Right.
And so, I have been on this journey the last few years of trying to patronize as many Black businesses as I can.
Wow. Yeah.
Whether it's the lip balm from the underwear out, I'm buying Black. I got Black drawers, Black socks, Black shirts. Supporting those companies that it's, I think, one of the reasons why we have had to deal with so much disrespect coming from outside the Black community, because we don't really control enough financial. We're great. What's the word? Consumers. Control a lot of the stuff that we're spending money on. I'm like, instead of trying to go and buy all these designer things from all these Italian designers and stuff, but it's like, let me go find some Black designers and elevate them to that stature of Gucci and Prada and all that good stuff. There's no reason why Black designers cannot have that same sort of status quo. It's us patronizing them.
Exactly.
That's the thing. It's just like going, I hear you, Lynn. That's right. Patronize Black businesses.
I know you have a point. I wanted just to jump in this real quick and piggyback. It's kind of a shift, but I wanted to bring up a point that Linda texted me with this past week, and I was really, I was pissed off for her. I don't know if you guys, I think she tagged the show basically on Facebook about what had happened, but her daughter, he just unawareingly was just walking down the street, and this Caucasian man, whatever it can be, what I call him something else on Facebook, I call him an asshole on Facebook, just put it out there, and called her the N-word, and the child, and there's a lot of ways you could go with that. You're looking at his disposition and all of the above, but the one thing I will say about that is that anytime that you have taken a stand, regardless of where you are in a position, and I so applaud Linda, for taking her stand, where she is and her disposition of bringing things forward. Here's the thing. I'm going to say the negative forces that are out there, they always come to challenge you when you make a stand about something. You see what I'm saying? So something is always going to come to challenge you to test you, to say, what do you believe what you said? Or are you going to act on what you've spoken of? So it's always going to come in that point. But in what's happening, you really find your strength, because you could go off, you could go get a gun. Linda could have got a gun and shot the man in the head. Okay, I'm just saying. But she found a way to release it to her friends. Us, Cornell, on Facebook. She found a way to be able to do that, and like I talked about earlier, compartmentalized it. You know what I mean? So that then she processed it differently, like you said, Harold, processed it differently and found a way to be able to deal with it, at the end of the day. And still, I'm using the term, to be victorious over it, Now, I don't know, she hasn't shared what she did with the man. I don't know if she killed him or not, but, but at the end of the day, I really applaud her in terms of how being able to release it and releasing it to the community of people, not only to her brothers here, but so that we can help her together process the situation. So I'll say that in a bigger picture is that when situations like that happen, be it the white side or the black, we need to find a way to get to gather and help one another process that, versus to attacking the situation, then it comes to relief. Then you can say, okay, this was just an idiot. You know what I mean? Isolated to that person, he was a complete idiot. It doesn't speak to everybody else, but he was an idiot, at the end of the day. But go ahead. I know you had a point.
But you know what? It's so happy. I'm happy that, she stood up for her daughter, and that, she wasn't there, wasn't she? Linda wasn't there in that moment, wasn't she? No. But it's just the fact that, some people don't understand how in those moments when it boils down to other people, how it hurts, how words like that stings. We're talking about this, even Taraji Henson, and this is a different situation, but when it came down to her mental illness or her PTSD as a Black actress walking into a board full of white people who are telling her about what movie they're creating, and what it does give her a sense of PTSD, a feeling of a mental challenge. And sometimes, and she was explaining to the View how she has to dial herself back because of the fact that of who she is as a Black woman in this industry, and how she's having to rise to the occasion, but still remember who she is, because that is what happens in any situation. It doesn't happen in Taraji's situation. It happens with our situation. Right. We go to work every day. We're in a situation where we feel uncomfortable. We feel like we work around people who do not understand us culturally, and it does give us a form of a mental challenge. Right. That you're having to live up to somebody else's expectations instead of your own. So you won't fit the narrative of the stereotype of either they think you're lazy, or they think you're crazy, or ghetto, whatever they want to name it, whatever you want to name it. But at the end of the day, it's still there. But I'm happy that at least not only Miss Linda, but I want to add this on to it. I'm going to be brief with this. Chris Harry said something to mention about his situation with race when it boiled down to his wife, right? And aligning the dots to how his mother had passed, her finding a man of color, and because of it, she passed, she died. And then saying that because he married a woman of color, that they were trying to kill her almost the same way they were trying to kill his mother. So for him to step out of that bubble and realize that there is a situation that he lived in that he didn't care too much about, but it has affected him and it has affected his family. Right. That's him releasing that mental illness, that mental illness that he inherited. Right. Because we inherit certain PTSDs within our family, within religions and stuff. But that is something that is to be acknowledged and to be encouraged for anybody of any race to step out of that bubble and understand the humanity of people, because that's what it is. Ooh, you say that. That's what it is. I agree. Understanding the humanity of people. I love that. Again, goes back to what truth behind the truth is. Guys, if you don't remember what our motto is, our mission statement. Our mission statement basically is to help humanity find the beauty of authenticity. Yes. You know what I mean? So it's about that. It's about that human connection. And hopefully one day that when we all understand what that human connection is about, we won't have to have conversations like these. Yes. At the end of the day, but we should press toward it. And this is where the conversation gets broader and gets better, but there's resolution in the conversation we're having about it. Yes. Beautiful. I love that. We're going to move on to our next point. I did want to talk about a couple of things that has been surfacing again about parent or child discipline. Child discipline, exactly. That's the best way to say it. Child discipline. It has been rising up in the news again, about parents disciplining their children, and where the authorities are getting involved in this situation again, and all of this. And I know we all got our point about this, but I'm gonna say this real quick, and then I'll let y'all have it. When my mama whipped my ass, okay, there was no opportunity to ever picking up the phone, okay, because the phone call would be the next part of whipping my ass, okay. And I, it gave me a sense of responsibility of life. I thought about things, very clearly, and I began to, I didn't like getting whipped at the time. At the end of the day, nobody does, but you have to realize you did something that was warranting that opportunity, to happen. And not until I think it was early 90s, late 80s is when they really started this thing of you're calling it child abuse or whatever. Now, believe me, I'm not excusing child abuse. That's a whole nother conversation, and there are people that have gone way too far, in terms of that. But see, here we are again. That's a mental problem that parent had or whatever that has took it out on that child. So that parent didn't have a balance. So I understand it. But to make a law that, that good parenting
which involves discipline, at the end of the day, has been wrong. So we've opened up a Pandora's box of so many problems in communities. You got the Columbine, you got all these other things, the list that goes on of lack of discipline or allowing children in their environment to do more than what they're supposed to do. There are boundaries. And if you don't establish those boundaries for children early on, then you have the Columbines. You have the one that shot up the church later on, like at 21 years old, and all of the things that go on, and the Jeffrey Dahmers and whatever case may be. And you think about that. There's a point about Hitler to his parents, but that I'll say that for later. That's a big one. But anyway, go ahead, guys. You can chime in on that.
Well, I never got whoopings growing up.
Wow.
And I never whipped my son, but my dad. One time my dad did hit me. And so I think I mentioned on the show before, my dad was addicted to heroin. And one day I remember he was high and he was bothering my mother, and then he started bothering me. And I went we were in the kitchen. I went and I grabbed a butter knife out of the drawer to defend myself against my dad.
Wow.
And he slapped me so hard. I mean, his as dark as I am, you could see his handprint on my face. Wow. And that was the only time my dad ever hit me, because I think he was taken aback that I would pull a knife on him. But he was bothering my mother, and then he started bothering me. But I didn't grow up getting whippings, and so as a result, I never whooped my son growing up. That just not how. Just wasn't a part. I didn't even think to do that.
But you found a beauty, and I'm not saying that whippings have to be a part of everybody's experience growing up. If you found a way as a parent to communicate what you needed to, and your child, fall in line, beautiful. I wish that on everybody. I'm not advocating the fact that you have to whip children every time they do something wrong. Because there are ways to be able to educate them. Just like when we had Jeremiah. You know what I mean? My grandson, real quick. He was 13 at the time. When he had him, and then there were issues that we had to come together to help him overcome. Number one, it's too long of a story to really get into to what it was. But my point is that we set a parameter, or a parameter for him. So this is what you do in your parameter. Okay, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. But when you come out of that parameter, you step in my territory or our territory. Okay, so so get this
they need a second period.
I love it, Susie. But we set a parameter, for him. Okay, and then when he stepped out of that parameter, it's like, well, you're on my territory. So, but what I did, rather than thoroughly discipline, I said, so what do you think that I should do because you stepped on my territory? He was so taken back. You know what I mean? It's like, wow, I get to make the decision of what my potential punishment would be. So it made more of an impact on them and challenged the thought pattern. I didn't like what he did. At the end of the day, however, I had to step back and say, you know what? How can I educate in this process? And from that, then he started to come to us. When he made a mistake, he said, "Papa, look, you know what? I got to tell you, I did A, B, C, and D." I was like, whoa. So he thought about the concept, but he came in admitting to what he had done. How can you ever punish a person when they have admitted to and gave you a clear explanation of what they did?
Right.
Right. And all you can say is go forward from that and say, hey, look, you know what? I appreciate you coming. The respect that you had for me coming to share that. And then, hey, let's look at it this way. Do a better job at making a better decision the next time around, because you don't want to have the conversation again, or you don't want the results that may happen if you did do it. And he went, oh, okay. I feel better about what I've done. But anyway, go ahead, Pardo.
Well, this is my thing, because many of us have grown up and we look back and we laugh about spankings that we got as children or whatever, which is also another way of disguising trauma.
Right.
But I'm gonna take my glasses off so everybody can see my eyes. Parents, spanking is not about discipline. It's about anger. You do not have to beat your child to discipline them.
Right.
And I've been saying that since I was a teenager, when I realized, I'm like, that ain't about discipline. That's not about love. That is about anger. Something that you did angered me. And so I'm physically punishing you for that, so that for you to do what I want you to do.
Right.
Okay. I have babysat cousins and friends and stuff since I was a teenager. I have never had to hit a child to mind me. It is in my demeanor, letting them know that, hey, stop.
Right. Okay.
That's enough. Because all it takes for, especially young children, all it takes is for them to feel that mommy and daddy or uncle, whatever, is disappointed or is upset with me for them to cry.
Right.
We all know about all my mom had to do was give me that look, and I knew.
Right.
Exactly.
And the real holdover is beating is a holdover from slavery.
Right.
Wow. That was about. It was about to spend. And I want to understand there's a difference between a mile and grab and switches and brushes and all this stuff.
Right.
And I'm tired of us trying to make excuses for that. That is abuse. Period. Point blank. No discussion. No debate.
Right.
That's what it is. So discipline is about giving guidelines. It's about That's what discipline is.
Right.
And as a martial artist, my instructors never had to beat me to get my respect.
Right.
And I was one of those people, I did not like saying yes, sir, and no, ma'am. I did not like that because I'm like, you ain't running me. Who ain't the boss of me?
Right.
When I got into it, I understood that was about respect.
Right.
My sister and I growing up, we didn't get a whole lot of spankings. I think, I remember talking about my dad. I was being mad at him. I was like, yeah, I was so getting a spanking. I said, you guys really didn't get that many spankings. He actually got more threats of getting spanked.
Right.
Actual spankings that happen. And sometimes we would say, and then we would get home and we're like, wait for it. That point was made because we had experienced the spanking before, the threat of it.
Right.
But actually for me, I'm just kind of like, you know what? I have a mind. Talk to me.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
To get me to understand that you're upset that's something that I did.
Right.
That's why a lot of child psychologists and stuff advise when you're angry with your child, take a minute, go to another room, put yourself down before interacting with that child.
Wow.
Too many people who think of their children as their possessions, as their property.
Right.
As opposed to small human beings.
Right.
Feelings and desires.
Right.
And it's like those little minds absorb information.
Right.
Like, why are our kids so violent? I remember this guy was saying, it's like, our kids are violent because we're violent.
Right.
You teach kids, this is how you make somebody mind you.
Right.
I beat you because I love you. And then we wonder why our children get involved in abusive relationships. That are beating them. Well, you just told them all their life, I beat you because I love you.
Right.
Now, with somebody's like, well, I wouldn't do that if I didn't love you so much.
Right. Exactly.
At some point, we're going to have to make a different choice.
Right.
Doing the same thing, yet expecting a different result is what? The definition
of insanity.
Right. Exactly. Absolutely.
And glasses back on.
Well, you know what? I always wonder.
Point made.
Wait a minute. But you know, I always wonder why spank when you could just put them on work detail.
Okay.
you can get a lot of dusting done with discipline. A lot of I need that wall painted. Since you can't mind me, go paint that wall.
Okay.
I want it to look spectacular. Don't put no paint on the.
Right.
I mean, a nice word detail is the best medicine for discipline. I must say.
Right.
But you know what? I have to say, and I agree with you, partner. I definitely agree with you, and and because of I come from the spare the rod, sport a child.
Right, absolutely.
You spare the rod, sport a child, and coming from a household with no men,
right?
My grandma and my mom took care of us. So 3 boys is a hard thing to handle. So in words, we got whooped and we got spanked. But the one thing my mom reiterates to us all the time, I'd rather whoop y'all here than the police whooping y'all. And I think that was one of the things that really that brought that, me to that realization. I'd rather get y'all in line in this house than y'all go outside and then, there's a situation outside. But now it doesn't even matter. You can just walk down the street and get a butt whooping from the police. But the fact is, though, that has always been the situation in my life. We got the whoopings, but we got the explanation after the whoopings. I have to tell y'all why you got it, because at the end of the day, I need to let y'all know that there are boundaries that you cannot cross. If grades are slipping, then and I warn you, if you bring another one of those in my house, you're gonna get a whooping. That's the the situation that I lived through and grew up in.
Right.
But isn't it right? For me, I wouldn't put that on no other child.
Right.
Because there is a fear that is instilled once you get that whooping.
Right.
Because you are in fear of, being not being headstrong in the worst way, but defending yourself.
Right.
Because people don't understand when you are being reared in the church or reared in whatever religious practice you're in, you learn to obey and be humble.
Right.
But sometimes with that comes abuse come into play because you don't know how to handle somebody who's bringing that power over your life.
Absolutely.
So it's just the fact that comes with the situation. But I've had to learn growing up. After I left my mom's house, I got my whoopings, but I'm damned if you're going to give me a whooping. I'm not going to get a whooping from no grown-ass person, woman, nor man, nor child. I'm not going to. I got my whoopings. I got my business. You put your hands on me.
You ain't taking no more, huh?
I'm not taking no more.
All my life I had to fight.
All my life I had to fight my dad. I had to fight my mama. I had to fight my uncles. But you have to. That's the thing. Fear has always been the discipline that comes with a switch and a belt or a cord.
Yes.
The fear is instilled.
But and I have to go back to. I mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But I have to go, and I never thought about it like that until you brought it up, Parnell. It was just practices that have been instituted or have been ingrained in, I think, in the community because of what they experienced going through the slavery thing.
Oh yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yes.
And I never thought about it like that.
Yes.
In this process. And thank you for educating me on that level because I never really dug into it that deep. As to say, where do our practices come from? And again, we're saying the mental health is a part of it. I mean, where do our practice? Why do we do? And this is not just subject to the African American community. What we're just saying is just that it's a practice that where do these practices come from? At the end of the day, why cannot we sit down and have an intelligence to a young adult or a young person to see where they are and ask them the question, well, why did you do what made you make that decision? Because it's like you said, I think, we're so busy trying to make somebody become something that they don't want to be. And in that process, when you're being forced to do something you don't want to do, you retaliate. In our adult life, we clearly retaliate at the end of the day when we're being forced to. So how much more as a child you're gonna try? You can't express it because you don't know how to bring the words out. So your actions are the only way to be able to bring it forward. At the end of the day, what sure
say no, girl. Say no word.
Show you a man.
Hilarious.
Man. But anyway, I love it.
Can I hit on what Cheryl was saying about there's some children that feel they can rise up and hit their parents, and what I have seen. And I'm not a child psychologist. Let me put that disclaimer. But I've watched them on Oprah, and what happens is parents don't address it in those first 5. Oh, that's so cute. They did it. That's not going to be cute when he's 12. That's not going to be cute when she's 13. If you stop it and address it right now, it's going to become a problem.
Yes.
My mom used to tell us we got too many parents who are trying to be their child's friend.
Yes.
And she's like, it's not my job to be your friend. I can be your friend when you're an adult. Right now, my job is to raise you up with some sense and a responsibility to be a productive member of society. That is my job.
Right.
When you're 21, I can worry about being your friend.
Right, exactly. And not even then, really.
Right.
Not even then, really.
Once you are an adult, they are no longer responsible as I've done my job. I've done everything that I can to get you to this point.
Right.
What you do now, you're grown.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I see, and I mean, I've always been very respectful to my parents.
Right.
Once I became an adult, it was a whole thing please do not mistake me being your son with your child.
Right. Exactly.
I am now a grown ass man.
Right.
And the things that I do are my decisions.
Right.
Positive or negative, the repercussions and the rewards are
going to be on your behalf.
That is on me. So, and I think the earlier you start instilling in people the decisions that you make have repercussions or benefits.
That's true.
on the decision that you make.
That's true.
I've watched so many parents try to, I don't want them to get hurt. I don't want them. It's part of growing up.
It's part of growing up.
Yes, it is. And when you keep coming to the rescue of your children,
right,
is beating them for everything they did wrong. They don't know how to function in a healthy environment.
Right.
I don't know what to do. Mommy and daddy always fixes it for me.
Right. Right. I had to, and it's a very good point that you brought up about parenting. One thing for sure is that you're always a parent. You will always be a parent until you leave. Even when you leave this earth, you're still a parent, because what they didn't get, they're gonna still talk to you in the afterlife, saying, "I wish you were here." To give you some guidance. That you still a parent all through eternity. But one of the things you mentioned, which is very good, and I wanted to bring up 2 points. Typically where you have teenagers that are in a different mindset completely, and probably all of us collectively can say, so they have a different level of aggression that I would have never thought about. You know what I mean? And again, not advocating spanking, but at the end of the day, I think that what it brought was a level of respect, as you mentioned, to my parents, and I would never ever disrespect my mother, on any account. I would never disrespect her, to the point that, I think I was like 30 something years old when I sat down and had the first glass of wine with her. So there was a lot of respect going on there. But the point I wanted to bring up about that is that when you have teenagers, this is probably helping somebody, because I kind of feel we needed to go this way. That especially teenage boys, this day and time. Hopefully that there is a father. If there's not a father in the house, encourage some man around him to be some sort of advocate for him, to help educate him in the process of this. Not if you're a woman alone. Now, if you're a dad, now you may not have had to do this with your son, but I certainly had to do it with my son. Okay, and I was dealing with a single dad situation where, here's the thing: you don't rise up in your parents' house telling them what you are and not gonna do. See, at that point, you know what? You got to pack your like I told my son.
Pack.
You got to pack. No, you're gonna learn this.
They told us take those clothes off, take those shoes, take everything off. Don't stand outside, because you ain't packing none of my clothes. We didn't get that.
Right. No. That's what I meant, because I had an incident, with my son. I think he was 13 at the particular time, and he just came toe to toe with dad. He's like, "I'm not gonna do A, B, C, F, and D." I said, "Excuse me, you're not gonna do what?" Okay. So I said, "Okay, fine." And I stood there for a minute, and everything came over me at that moment, because you think about what happened here. Where was the communication loss? Or they just lost their mind. Okay, at the end of the day.
And you know what? And we always go to that when somebody is acting out or doing. We asked. I don't think we asked the correct question, because we asked the question, "What's wrong with you?"
Right.
As opposed to what happened. No, or as opposed to what happened to you.
Okay, gotcha.
Oftentimes people are acting out because something has happened to them that they don't know how to articulate and express, or are afraid to.
Good point.
A lot of times we're just acting out because something has happened to us that we don't know how to talk about. I know that happened to my son, and let me just say, my son, it wasn't all rosy. Although I didn't whip him. It was not always, things weren't always cohesive. There was a period when he was in middle school that we actually had to go see a therapist, because I didn't know how to handle him. I didn't know how to deal with him. And my mindset was, somebody gonna get hurt in this house. And so I realized I didn't have the tools to help my son. And so I went and got a therapist. And what I found out while we were in therapy was that my son was acting out because he had been getting bullied for a couple of years at school, and he didn't know how to tell me. He didn't know how to share that information with me. And he had resented me because I had moved to Inman Park, that area, because I wanted him to go to that Inman Middle School, because I thought it was a good school.
Oh, yeah.
And he resented me for moving us to that area because he felt like it was my fault that he was being bullied. He didn't know how to communicate all that to me. So that didn't come out until we were with a therapist, where you had a neutral person who could allow him to talk, because I was just trying to figure out, boy, what's wrong with you? I'm trying, and I'm and not understanding that there was something that was causing him to act this way.
Wow. That's a very, very powerful point, about that. I mean, and you think about it as we're in this nature of the discussion. I mean, and I'm sure the ladies out there that have daughters, and all of those are the type of things that go through the same challenge. And somebody, and I think it was a therapy thing. Maybe when Dr. Phil, I don't like Dr. Phil, but one of the times he had one of these belligerent children on there trying to have this conversation with their parents. But the one thing that he did mention about is that, when there is a cycle of life that everybody experiences, and as parents, we don't allow these kids to have that cycle of life.
Right.
And in that cycle, as you mentioned earlier, Harold, I think is that the whether it's bullying, wherever it is, it's a part of the cycle of life that they have to deal with. But it's like you said, giving them the tools in order to be able to do that, because we will retaliate against it, at the end of the day, because they come home and and typically girls, they come home looking totally different, or they start wanting to get things pierced, and all these other type of things in this day and age, that they start, and you wonder what have I done as a parent? So we start blaming ourselves for failure. And it really isn't the failure on the parent. It's really, I think, kind of the failure in the system of life, and not providing them the tools, as you said earlier on, to really move and express themselves in ways that they can come home and say, hey, Dad, I'm being bullied at school. Not thinking that it, and his thought might have been no pun intended here, but maybe he thought that if he came home and tell you, made a thought of him, he was being soft. What I'm saying? Right. And so he's like, oh God, I got to go home and deal with Dad, and he's thinking I'm being soft, I'm being a real man, So, and all of these things interject into them. And then he's probably hearing that at school. Well, you go home and tell your dad, he's going to think you're sissy, whatever. Right. So, and then being able to process it. So it is a lot on young people, That doesn't excuse the behavior that comes from that. But I think responsibility as parents and parents or people that are raising parents and grandchildren, whatever you're raising, is that take a step back from it. You know what I mean? Take a step back and really see what's going on with the child. Let's not be the type of people in this generation of like that. You're running, laying child. I'm just going there, laying child on the altar, praying, putting all oil all over them, and he said, make them freeze down. And all that. Then it's the enemy attacking them, and whatever the case may be. They're just trying to process life, just like you process life every day. At the end of the day. But anyway, we got to move on from next. Next conversation. Did you have one you want to bring up?
No.
You had something you wrote down. You want to talk about?
No. Oh, I mean, that's for the next.
Okay,
that's for the next.
Bro, did you have something you want to bring up tonight?
No, I think it's. I'm glad that we're having this conversation. Because even raising my son, at that same thing, and there's that period like between 12 and 14 where they lose all common sense. You just want to what is wrong? Right. Being on the other side of it now, we're not like, okay, he's at that age now where his mind, common sense is just gone, and it'll be back around 14, 15. Right. I'm like, kind of kill him. Because there is that frustration because there is no one size fits all to raising your children into healthy adults.
Right.
And there is that, like Harold, you're saying, looking at your son's situation, that's why he's acting out. And when I talk about people spanking, I'm like, I'm not chastising you or making you feel if you spanked your children. I'm just saying, realize what it is why you're spanking. Realize what the motivation is for that. That is coming from anger.
Right.
And sometimes that is coming out of fear because you don't want them, like the parents say, if I don't beat you, then the cops are going to get you out there.
Yeah. Right.
There's this thing of trying to guide this child into the way they should go, which is when I've always heard that spare the rod, spoil the child. I'm like,
right.
All kinds of rods. There are also rods that guide.
That's right. That's true.
Lightning rod guides the lightning this way so that it doesn't hurt other things around it. A curtain rod guides the curtain so that it only goes along this path and doesn't just fall onto your floor every time you open it.
Right. Absolutely. That's true.
I think the rod is about guidance.
Right. That's right. That's true.
And yes, there are some demons spawn out there that's like, you could do everything. It's like, I don't understand. I made sure they had this. I gave them guidance. I gave them love. I gave them affirmation. Yet they are still this hell spawn. I don't know what I can't wait for them to become 18 and get the hell up out my house before we I did it. For sure. I'm like you. It's like I'm not gonna be afraid of a child in my house.
Right. Right. No.
Now that's gonna be one of those. Okay. Oh, you grown now, huh? Okay.
What a Vaseline.
Right. Let me show you what happens with grown.
Right.
To let you know just how grown you're not gonna be.
Somebody gonna get cut.
Vaseline. Is that why they pull out the Vaseline? Is to put it all over their face so when they hit them, they'll slip off.
Well, that's so you can't. So especially girls, so you can't scratch.
So you can get scratched.
Oh yeah. Okay. I always wonder, like, pull out the Vaseline. What the Vaseline?
but you know, and I didn't finish my point a minute ago. But just to say, but like you just said, a part of it's like when you got to that. I've had 3 incidents. My son would be 38 this year. Okay, you know, at age wise, we've had 3 incidents under the course of 38 years that came with. But I'll go back to the point when he was a teenager.
Yeah.
So I simply said, then I said, okay, you know what? So I grabbed him by the collar. Okay, and I ripped every bit of the clothes. I ripped it from all the way down, and I said, get out my house. Who do you mean? Where am I going? Get out my house. You know, well, I couldn't get what clothes?
Yeah.
Let me remind you, I own everything in here. Okay. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm gonna give you something to take with. Go downstairs, get a baggie, and get the toothbrush that you had, and put it in the baggie so you can have a clean toothbrush. And get out my house. See, there are points where you may have to go, like you said, put the grease on. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
But Bill Cosby said, "I brought you in this world,
and I take you out." Wow. I take you out. Okay.
Miss CK Ford is on a roll tonight. I can see that been using Erykah Badu as a.
Come on, Cheryl. Come on.
And there ain't nothing wrong with that. But you know what? We are because on the same page. And because I was
sure.
Go ahead. I'm so sorry, Harold. Go ahead.
I was going to say, because you know, parenting is such a complicated and dynamic thing that I think we often go into it with no operating manual, and we just are doing what was done to us. And so, you know, we repeat these cycles, and people call them generational curses. No, you've just been raising your children the way you were raised, and giving them the same information that you've been getting.
Well,
and
you know,
that comes for all tax brackets, because you know that is not only a middle class poor thing, but it's also a rich thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And even Harry pointed out that his father told him the same thing when he was rearing him as a child. Wow. I had to go through this as a child. Now you must go through this as a child. Wow. And you know, and when you brought that up, I thought about that. So that is interesting how people do that to their children. Because I was abused, you must go through the abuse
process that I went through.
Well, you know, that's all I know, because that's all I know.
You know, here's the thing. I think this is one of the beautiful solutions that, you know, maybe the generation can get back to this. But it's funny, I was having a discussion with somebody the other day about what has happened to the nuclear idea of family. Okay, meaning that this is not a separate cultural thing. This is just period. What happens is that, and it's been perpetuated for as long as I can remember. But what happens is that grandparents are supposed to be one of the major influences in the opportunity of raising a child. But what happens is that the parent doesn't allow the grandparent to be the teacher for them to be the parent. You see what I'm saying? And what happens? Well, you can't tell me how to do my child. You can't tell me this. I don't want you involved in it. And you get all this attitude coming from the parent. Well, the grandparent is there to help you, to bring you down, to help you to figure it out, to talk to you about the process. Because guess what? They already been through it with you. So they have
that insight. They have insight. They have perspective. They realize what they did wrong and what worked.
Right, absolutely, and what works and what doesn't work. But see, we don't allow that to happen. What happens is that the parent gets all wrapped up in it. Well, they trying to tell me how to raise my child. This is my child. We get it. It's your child. But here's the thing: we're seeing the litany of mistakes that you're making in the process of that. So parenting, shut up and listen to the grandparent. Okay, and then you'll find it, and then also you building a better relationship with the child, because the child is saying, wow, the influence of my grandmother or whatever the case may be, now I can see life a better way, and I won't be making the same decision my mother made in raising me, so I have a better foundation moving forward.
And you see it now in society, where society do not respect their elders.
Well,
you have people because of the fact that you have some parents that have pushed that type of generational wisdom away from from the home.
Right.
You know, I've seen people because I don't agree with my husband, I don't agree with my wife, I'm just gonna keep my kids away from that side of family, I'll keep my kids away from that side of family,
right.
and I'm just gonna have to figure it out on my own, which has caused has caused a downward spiral in the way people operate these days.
Right.
And the way that people treat people these days, because they don't know how there's no respect and there's no boundaries.
Right.
Even as adults, you see it when I work in a store all day. I see it all the time.
Right.
I see the way people talk to people. I'm like, well, I wasn't raised to talk like that.
Right.
I had a grandma I talked to, but I never disrespected my elders.
Right. Absolutely.
Even if they disrespected me, I'm like, listen, I'm not gonna go there with you because I have a grandmother at home. I wouldn't want to be seen cussing you out, but I will stand my ground in a respectful manner.
Right.
But you will have people who will go ballistic and even go, really go hands to the fist with an old person these days.
That's true.
I'm just saying.
But again, it goes back to what we're talking about. You know, it's a part of where they've been brought up. You know, in the circumstances they've been brought up in. You know, the best thing, number one thing is to say this. You know, and I know we got to wrap our show up. Stop having these kids we ain't ready for them. Number one. Okay, at the end of the day, we're speaking to the future generation. Stop having these kids when you're not ready for them. Okay, look, cover it up, zip it up, tuck it up, whatever. Tuck it in, you know, strap it down, you know, whatever you need to do. Okay, at the end of the day, stop having babies when you're not ready to have a baby. Michael Jackson said it best. What is it?
If you can't read
the baby, then don't have the baby. At the end of the day, all right? You don't. I mean, because you just put yourself in a lot of positions. You know, at the end of the day, that you don't want to. And I could go on about that because I got 4 grandkids. That anyway, that's a whole nother story.
That's next week's show.
That's next week's show. But anyway, but this has been great, guys. This has been a phenomenal night once again. You know, again, hot topics. We went into the areas, kind of hopefully encourage everybody, you know, to really to dig in. Hey, if it's when it comes to parenting, when it comes to mental health, and looking at that, you know, if you're dealing with mental issues, you know, hey, you need to step away from the kid for a minute because your reaction is something you're necessarily dealing with, you know. And a lot of times, here's the thing, and I'll wrap it up with this. That when you see something that's being challenged, you're being challenged by a child, it's something that's being challenged in you that needs to be corrected. You see what I'm saying? It's something in you that you haven't addressed. So address that within you, and then you'll probably find the harmony and peace that you need in dealing with your children, you know, moving forward. That's where, you know, at the end of the day. Guys, hey, it's been a great night. Hey, fellas, hey, always on point. Guys, we want to tell you guys to get ready because we got another great series coming up called the Writer's Page. Oh my gosh, Tara Colt will be back with us talking about the Right Talk with the LGBTQ plus community. How she's dug in a great book. As you've seen, I'm gonna call her Dr. Cheryl K. Ford will be with us talking about her book. You know, coming up forward. We got Brother Harold getting into his books and telling about that. We've got a litany of people that are going to be part of the Writer's Page. So I encourage you guys to get ready for that. It's coming up. Got some great people talking about their books going to be released very soon. All right, guys, got anything else you want to add before we close it out? Harold, you good?
I just want to say for all the parents out there, do the best that you can.
Yes,
and forgive yourself for making mistakes. Yes. Every parent has made at least 1,000.
Yes. In a week. And
it happens. But it is that thing of when you know better,
you do better. Absolutely.
And I'm so glad that my father and I repaired our relationship before he passed. Beautiful. That as adults, we had a better understanding of one another. We talked about our issues where I felt he had let me down or where he felt I didn't, you know, all this stuff. So let that happen.
Yes.
That exchange happen when your children become adults, relate to them as adults and not steal your child.
Right.
And it's going to be all right.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You have anything else? Yeah.
Oh, yes. And on top of that, us talking about this being Mental Illness Week, just take some time to meditate.
Right.
And meditate on what we said tonight, you know, and then find that moment of peace within you to just relieve whatever that is, that angst, that anxiety, and that stress that as a parent or as you working on a job, release all of it, because that'll make the world a better place. And it'll make the universe a better place. The universe a better place to live. So give out great karma. I'm just saying, but do that for yourself.
Yes.
Do it for yourself.
Got you. All right, guys, thank you for tuning into The Truth Behind the Truth tonight. Hey, remember, like we started out there, share, share, like, share, like, please share us, get out there. And these kind of conversations people need to hear through the laughter, through the joy, through the fun. There's a lot of information that has been given to you guys tonight in parenting, even just looking at yourselves and doing a self-inventory about everything. So please do that. Share these, click on it. You can copy it and paste it everywhere you want to, send it in an email. We are available for the discussion. All right. Y'all have a great night. Remember, again, Truth Behind Truth will be back with you again next Saturday night, and have a beautiful night, guys. Thank you so much. Love y'all as always. All right.
Happy birthday, JB.
Oh, yeah.
Happy birthday, JB. Happy birthday.
Yes.
We actually
Oh wow! Thank you, Veronica. Thank you.
that was interesting.
I loved it. Thank you.
I like that.
Y'all have a great night. Thank you for tuning into The Truth Behind the Truth. We'll see you next week. Bye.
That little red candle was intense.
I know.